What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually bringing you guys along for a breakfast meal prep. Now, I filmed this video last week. It's just taking a little bit to get these videos out, but I'm showing you guys how I make homemade donuts today. I did not film me actually making the bread dough, so I'm going to take a second to explain what I did here just at the beginning of the video. My bread recipe that I'll put up here, linked down below, makes enough to make 2 loaves of bread. So what I did is I made my dough, I let it rise. When it was time to roll it out where you would make your bread loaves, I split my dough in half. I made 1 loaf of bread and set that down to rise. With the other half of the dough, I rolled it out and I just took a mason jar. I thought I filmed this part, but I can't find the footage anywhere, so maybe I didn't. But I just took a mason jar. I didn't spray it with Pam or anything, and I took the mason jar and used it like you would a cookie cutter to cut out the pieces of dough. Then I set that out to rise for its second rise. Once those donuts got big and fat and fluffy and they about doubled in size, that's when the footage picks up. So I just wanted to make that super clear. I still wanted to put this video out though because I think it's still overall pretty easy to follow and will make sense as long as I explained it here in the intro. So I will link down below my bread recipe for you guys. If you wanted to make these donuts and not make a loaf of bread, you totally could. I use this bread recipe to make breads, donuts, cinnamon rolls, like everything and anything. This is the dough recipe that I use. So don't feel like you have to only use it for dough. When I'm using it to make a sweet option, so like cinnamon rolls or a tea ring or these donuts, I'll typically add in a little bit of cardamom and also a little bit of vanilla extract into the dough as it's mixing in the mixer. It just helps it be a little bit more sweet and taste less like a typical bread. But let's go ahead and hop into how to make homemade donuts. Cut these off and I'm going to fry them just like this. I'm just gonna let them rise. So the process of these is making your dough, then rolling it out, cutting out your donuts. We're gonna allow these to rise a second time, and then once they have risen enough, we're going to fry them. And if you wanted to make these in a big batch, these freeze awesome. I'll freeze them after I fry them. So if you wanted to make these in a really big batch, you totally could. I have frozen these donuts before after I've fried them and they freeze awesome. I only left them in my freezer though for about 3 weeks, I think. How I thawed them is I took them straight out of my chest freezer, put them on a sheet tray, put them right in my oven. I baked them at 350 just until they were not frozen anymore. But because they were warmed up again, I was able to put them in a bag right away, toss them with sugar, and we actually ate them as an afternoon snack. And it was awesome. My kids loved them, so I definitely plan on doing that again, especially heading into like winter time and as school starts up again. But this is a really easy way to prep donuts, either for really easy breakfast or for just like a really fun afternoon snack for your kids. And like, I'm getting ready to fry my donuts. Ignore my stove. We've just been in the kitchen a lot today. So this is what I use to fry my donuts in, just Crisco. Now you can see I've written fry on these because what I do is I will actually just open this up. I scrape this Crisco out into the pan. Once it gets all melted and stuff, obviously I'll fry whatever I'm frying in it. I've only used this for donuts. Then when I'm done frying all my donuts, I will take the Crisco and pour it out of the pan while it's still hot back into this container. And I can use this Crisco time and time again for frying my donuts. I've used this Crisco I think 4 or 5 times for donuts this far. It works amazing. I love it a lot. So I'm gonna drop this Crisco in there, like scrape it in there, get the heat on, get this melted down. We'll get ready to fry them. Everything I have set aside is just a plate with some paper towel on it just to soak up any of the excess oil and stuff that's gonna be dripping off these donuts. You could always use a sheet pan if you wanted to. This is what I've got going for me thus far. While I am waiting for the Crisco to melt in that pan, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start baking some eggs for my husband's breakfast sandwiches. I usually do them on Sundays, but we were so busy yesterday. We're expanding our chicken run and getting everything ready, so that took up pretty much all the day. We spent all day outside doing like yard work and housework, and in the garden and doing a ton of things outside. So I told him I'd get them done today. How I make his eggs is I just spray these giant muffin tins with Pam, crack an egg in there, and bake them in the oven at like 350. They take, I don't know, probably like 8 minutes or so to cook in the oven, and then I will show you guys the rest of how I assemble his breakfast sandwiches, prepping for the week. If I have time, I'm gonna try to make extra so I can get some in the freezer. That way, next week, if the same thing happens, at least he has where to take with him to work until I can get these made. I also have the hope of getting some peanut butter and jellies in the freezer for like just really easy beach meals or park days. Just grab a couple of those sandwiches. I love to keep them in the freezer in the summertime. I had to buy eggs for the first time and I don't know how long. My chickens are kind of aging out of being prime layers, which is okay. We did just get 13 chicks this year, so they should be laying before the summer's end. But right now they're just not laying consistently for me, which is pretty typical. My laying hens right now are about 4 years old, so they're really at the end of being good layers. So they're just gonna be kind of free ride chickens until they die, most likely. Okay, so I'm going to pop these in the oven, like I said, 350 until they're cooked. I basically will just wiggle the pan in the oven, and if the yolks wiggle, then I leave them in for a little bit longer. It looks like our Crisco is warming up. It's starting to bubble a little bit, which is awesome. I'm gonna go grab. So I'm just going to start taking these donuts. You can see how they puffed up. They're looking great. Just drop them in. They only take a couple minutes on each side. So how you check these to know when they're ready to flip is you're just gonna pick it up and it'll be brown. On the other side, you can see this one's not quite ready. So I'm just gonna flip it over. It'll be brown, it'll be crusted, it'll look golden, it'll be gorgeous. That's when you know they're ready to flip. You can go ahead, flip them over. They look great. We're just gonna give these a couple of minutes, let them do their thing. I have never made the donuts without poking the donut hole in them, and I'm finding that these are taking a lot longer to cook through, which makes sense. They're just taking longer to get golden and kind of get to the point where I would like them to be. So I just wanted to note that if you poke the holes in them, they probably will take a lot less longer time to sit in the pan and kind of bake and get golden and beautiful, but they still look good. It smells amazing. It's starting to smell really good in here, and I'm excited. I have all the little kids came up behind me. They could smell the donuts cooking, and one by one, I heard bedroom doors open, and they're coming to hang out and wait for a donut. I don't blame them. I have all of them in the fry oil now. I turned the heat up, which helped get these a little bit more golden. So I think what I've decided is all these little fry pieces, I'm gonna sprinkle with cinnamon and sugar, and I'm gonna leave these whole round donuts here plain and kind of let people do what they want with them. I'm also hoping to freeze some of these donuts. We'll see what happens. I've only ever gotten donuts in the freezer once, but that was when I made like a triple batch. So we'll see what happens. These will most likely just be for like snacks and breakfast throughout the week. Well, just for the next couple of days. My kids did ask for chocolate, so I'm just gonna melt some chocolate in the microwave for them to dip their donut top in, and then I have some sprinkles that they can sprinkle it with if they want. My eggs in the oven are looking great. They are almost there. So I should be able to finish up with these donuts and then get on to assembling breakfast sandwiches pretty seamlessly, which is nice. I like it when that happens. For the chocolate topping, all I'm gonna do is melt down some chocolate chips that I have on hand. These happen to be semi-sweet because that's what I have opened right now. I was gonna pop them in the microwave. All I do for that is just pop them in the microwave, let them melt for a couple of seconds, give it a good stir, put them back in, and they'll be good to go. So I have this bag here with just sugar in it. I'm gonna take these little mini pieces and just drop them in here. And I'm gonna shake them all up. Now you could do powdered sugar in the same method. You could do cinnamon and sugar. Really just depends on your personal preference. I like just sugar, so that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna get these shaken up and I'm gonna snack on these little pieces while I finish the rest of the meal prep that I wanted to do. And then I just give her a good shake. Now, like anything, donuts are best when they're fresh. So then, yeah, these are good. By far, donuts are one of my favorite things that I've learned how to make. I want to learn how to make cake donuts. It's on my list. Slowly but surely, I'm learning new things. And this is one of the things that I told you guys I wanted to show you guys how I learned how to make. So here we are, it's finally happening. Use your bread recipe. If you have a bread recipe, like a white loaf bread recipe or something that you really love, you've been using for years, just go ahead and try that. Add a little bit of vanilla, add a little bit of cardamom, just helps sweeten it up a little bit. And you can make some fantastic donuts. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this mess cleaned up. I'm gonna pour my hot Crisco back into the Crisco pan. I'm gonna check on my eggs here, see how those are doing. Those look like they are just about done. So the next thing I'm going to do is mix up those breakfast sandwiches because that's what needs to happen. If I cannot get the peanut butter and jellies done today, that's okay. I can do them another day. I can even do them later. We'll see what happens. But those are two things I'm really hoping to get done, and I would like to sit down just for like 15 minutes before my 2-year-old wakes up from his nap, just to kind of de-stress a little bit, just have a moment to myself for a minute. So that's my priority over getting breakfast or over getting peanut butter and jellies in the freezer. Always can happen another day. I have learned that the best way to get these eggs out of these muffins pans is to just take a spoon and ride the sides and then scoop it out. That's what works best for me. It keeps the egg intact for the most part. Just simple tricks usually are the ones that work the best. But all you need for these breakfast sandwiches are sausage patties. I'm gonna put cheese, totally optional, and then obviously your egg and some sort of bread. Today for my bread, I am using English muffins. That's what me and my husband prefer, but you could definitely do bagels or croissant. This is my white bread that you guys kind of saw me make earlier. This is the other half of that bread that I used the leftovers of to make the donuts. It was looking beautiful until my 4-year-old decided she was gonna smush one half of it, which is okay, just that's life. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in the oven so it's ready for dinner.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Flashing red lights, driving at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight.
Thank you guys so much for watching and taking a little bit of time out of your day to hang out with me, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye.
Seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.